Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second edition of the Grow My Business webinar by Flutterwave in partnership with a lot of guest speakers. The whole point of our Grow My Business webinar is to provide you with the tools and the information that you need for your business to, one, survive this crisis, but also kind of grow and excel beyond the crisis as well. So it's not just for the crisis. We will be sharing some tidbits on business growth in general, business continuity, and things related to that. I think I should introduce myself. My name is Yewande Akomalafe Kalu, but you can just call me Wendy. And our panelists today are Zainab Abu. Zainab is she's in our growth team. She's a vertical lead in our growth team in Flutterwave. She has a focus on basically growing our small, medium businesses, the people that use our services. And then we have Samke as our panelist as well. She's our guest speaker today. Samke is the founder of TNC Wealth Partners, and she is a wealth coach. And so she'll be hosting the session on being crucial in crisis, which is why most of you probably joined this. And then we have Dikachim Nwankwo. Dikachim is the product marketing lead at Flutterwave. So we're gonna get started, but just some house rules. So as you probably know, with webinars, basically you can either, if you have a question, you can click on the Q&A section and ask your question there, or you can raise your hand. We are going to essentially go first into Zainab's session, then we will go into Samke's session, and then we will have a Q&A session for both. But if you have a question and it pops into your head, just drop it in the Q&A section and then we'll get to it. We'll also allow some people to verbally ask their questions as well. So I guess we can just get started and go straight into it. So I'm going to share my screen for the first section and then we can take it from there. Okay, I'm going to mute myself and Zainab is going to kick off from here.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining in. Just like Wendy said, this is the second edition of the Flutterwave webinar, Grow My Business. It's targeted at business owners to sort of let you know things you can still do, even though your business is probably currently locked down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, just to let you know there are other things you can do to still keep your business open. And I'll just go straight up into the presentation. My name is Zainab. I work with Flutterwave. I manage the SME vertical. And yeah, so next slide, please. Right. Just like I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of restrictions, like we know, that has been brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had a lot of business owners have to shut down their physical locations and their offices just so that they comply with the government directives. And of course, this has definitely had a negative effect on your cash flow, sales turnover, especially if you have a business that just has a physical location, you don't have an online presence, then you definitely would be feeling that pinch right about now. So Flutterwave as an organization, we've put together a couple of, should I say, a couple of things that you need to know as a business owner, a couple of things that you need to do as well. And there's some things that we're also offering to business owners to help drive visibility and even business continuity in a time such as this. So I'll just talk through some of these things that we're offering to business owners so that you don't completely have to shut down your business, even though there are restrictions on movements and the rest of them. There are a couple of things that we've put together as Flutterwave to help your business thrive, even in a time such as this. Next slide, please. So one of these things we've put together, like I mentioned, is this webinar, right? The Grow My Business webinar. The initiative is designed to equip small and medium-scale business owners with the right tools, information, materials, access basically required to scale, thrive, even just to keep your business open in a time such as this. So we're not just having the webinars on our own. We've partnered with industry leaders in terms of business growth, business continuity, in terms of scaling your business, in terms of all the tools that you need to have as a business owner, especially as a business owner in a time such as this, which is really a crisis period. So I don't know how many of us attended the last one. We partnered with AGS Tribe, and this time around we've partnered with Sam K of the TNC Wealth Partners. So that's basically what we're doing. It's a free webinar. We're giving you guys the information that you need to keep your business afloat, the tools that you need. A lot of these tools are readily available, and they're free, but most business owners don't know about them. So we'll just be talking you through some of these things that you need to know and also to have as a business owner, especially in times such as this. So this Grow My Business webinar is one of them. It's going to be organized weekly every Monday. If you can't attend one, then just be rest assured that the next Monday we're going to be having another one, also inviting industry leaders to speak to you as well about all the things, all the tools that you need to thrive. So it's going to be a very well-packed webinar. We'll be talking more about things that you need to do as a business owner. So Grow My Business webinar is just one of those things that we're offering to business owners. Next slide, please. So another thing we're doing is we've partnered with Google to list all business owners on Google My Business. I don't know how many of us know about Google My Business. It's basically a platform that allows business owners have visibility, especially when a business search is done or whenever a search is done on the Google platform. So basically how it works is it gives detailed information about your business. So today, if you own a store where you sell clothes, for example, if I do a business search on your business name, if I do a Google search on your business name, I most likely may not see that particular business brand. But if you're listed on Google My Business and the search is done, then your business is definitely going to show up right on the first page of that search. So that's the advantage of listing your business on Google My Business. So Flutterwave has partnered with Google to list all Flutterwave SMEs on Google My Business for free. So today, if you are a Flutterwave SME and you're active and you've verified your account, you would have gotten an email sometime last week saying we're going to be listing you and your business for free on Google My Business. So it's just another way of sort of supporting you during this time to ensure that there's visibility, right? It's one thing to have a business that's locked down and then you're still trying to sell and then there's no visibility at all. So, but when you have that visibility, people do a search and they're able to find you, then that's taking it a step further. So ensuring that there's that business continuity, right? And then the beauty about listing your business on Google My Business is you also have the opportunity to put details about the business you're offering. So things like working hours, when you open, when you close, phone numbers to call, email addresses, even your social media handles can be listed all on Google My Business. So that's the partnership we've done with Google. And then we encourage all Flutterwave account holders to take advantage of this just to ensure there's that visibility of the business. Even though there's a lockdown going on, people know that if they're looking for pharmaceuticals, they can get you. If they're looking for, essential items, clothes, whatever it is, then they can get you. So if you're not already a Flutterwave account holder, this would be a good opportunity for you to quickly sign up and then take advantage of this partnership that we have with Google. Next slide, please. So another thing we've done is we've developed a payment link with inventory and delivery. What this basically means is today, assuming you're a supermarket, right? You sell, essential items, skincare, clothing, whatever it is. And then because of this restriction, lockdown, you've had to sort of shut down your physical supermarket. We're letting you know that with these payment links that have inventory and delivery attached to it, you can still sell, right? You can still be in business, so to speak, even though your physical location is locked down. So how does it work, right? As a business owner, all you need to do is sign up to Flutterwave. Once you sign up with Flutterwave, you do an integration of your inventory to our Flutterwave solution. So what that means is today, if you have a supermarket, you most likely have an inventory system. What that means is if you log into your computer today and you want to see all the list of items you have, there's a way you can do that. You want to see whether this item has diminished or whether it's low in stock or whether you have surplus, all that detail is available on your inventory management system. So what we're saying is just do an integration of that inventory management system to the Flutterwave platform, and then we'll take it from there basically. So once you do this, what that means is you can now maybe send out an email to all of your customers, letting them know that even though your physical supermarket is shut down, they can still buy items from you via the payment link. So you can put that payment link either on your social media page, or you can send it to your customers via email or WhatsApp message, whatever it is. You just let them know it's available. Now, how does this work? So the customer gets your payment link. They click on that payment link. Excuse me. Once they do that, of course, details of your business will be displayed on that payment link. I think I have a screenshot of that on the next page. Can I go to the next page, please? Fantastic. So this is basically what we're talking about. Say we have a supermarket called Dekachim Superstores, for example. Now, Dekachim Superstores has had to shut down his physical location, but he's still able to sell his items, receive payments, and deliver goods all from the comfort of his home. So he's not violating anything, but he's still keeping his business open. What he does is he just signs up a Flutterwave. He does the integration to his inventory management system. All this is very, very seamless, and you can do it yourself. You really don't need to get a third party to do that integration for you. Once you do that, and then you send the link out to your customers, once they click on the link, they see something like this. I don't know if you can all see the screen. So this is basically what it looks like. So a list of all your items are displayed. That's the inventory integration I talked about. A list of all your items are displayed. And then the customer can just select all the items they want to buy, as well as the quantity. So if it's 5 items, you just put the plus several times and it also gets to 5. If it's just 1, you put the plus just once and then it shows. So once you're done, you scroll through the list of all the things you want to buy. Once you're done, you click on the next page, which basically is the payment page. And then once the payment page is displayed, you can make payments. But before the payment page is displayed, there's a field, I believe, that you can capture specific details of yourself. If you could just go to the next page so they can see what I'm talking about. Great. So after you've selected all the things that you want to buy, it takes you to this next page where you put in all of your information. So things like your name, your email address, phone number, delivery address. Delivery address is actually very important because remember I said there's a back-end integration which we've done with the logistics companies, both inside of Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. So this information is captured, and then you put in your delivery details. That delivery information automatically feeds into the logistics company who will be doing the delivery for you. And then there's an automatic calculation at the back end, which is an algorithm that sort of determines the weight of all these items. And then based on the location where you're receiving the goods from, an amount is calculated. And that amount that is calculated is also displayed and added to the total number that you need to pay. So what this has done is it has eliminated the issue of you going back and forth with the customer saying, oh, delivery is maybe it should be 5,000, it should be 1,000 is where I live and all that. Everything is automated in this case. So all that calculation is done. It's all automated, it's collated, and then you just see the total amount that you need to pay, bearing in mind that all your details have already been captured and sent to both the supermarket and then the logistics company. Next page, please. So you've seen from this page, you can see your total amount is 26,875. This includes everything. So delivery and all that is calculated and it's included. So at this point, you can now select the payment option that you want. So if you want to pay with card, or you want to pay with bank transfer, or you want to pay with USSD, whatever payment option you prefer, or even if it's barter, all those options are available. If you're paying with mobile money, whatever option you want, you just select it. And then you make the payment, you authenticate that payment, and then if the transaction is successful, you get a transaction successful display on the screen. And then remember, you put in your email address in the previous pages, so you also get an electronic receipt sent to your email address. And now the customer, the merchant who is Dekachim Superstores in this case, he also gets an email notification of that receipt, and then on his his dashboard as well. That's his Flutterwave dashboard. He can log in and see details of that transaction that has taken place. Now, from his own end, what does he really need to do? All he needs to do is put together your order, right? Every order has a unique order reference. So we could call it order XYZ, for example. So all he needs to do is put together the order. He can see all the items that you paid for. He puts them together and then he gets them ready for the delivery company to come pick up. So remember, the delivery company also gets a notification saying pick up order XYZ from Dikachim stores. So the delivery company goes same day or next day, depending on what the SLA is, and then he picks up that order, right? And then remember, the order already has the delivery address and all that and all that. So he just goes and then he delivers it directly to the customer. So what has happened is the same transaction that you would normally do, having to go physically to the supermarket to buy your items and then, you know, drive yourself home, has already happened from the comfort of your home without having to have to stress yourself for anything at all. So this has made life easier for everybody, especially now that we have restricted movement, right? There's lockdown, you know, you can't move within certain hours and all of that. This has allowed for your transaction to still go through. So from the seller's point of view, you're still able to sell your products. It's even easier for you now because you really don't need to do too much of moving around, right? You don't need to open your store and you're saving on cost, electricity and all of that. And then from the buyer's point of view, you don't have to physically go to the store to buy these items, right? You just go to the customer's payment link, select what you want, and then it's delivered to your doorstep. So this has made the whole process seamless from start to finish. And that's what Flutterwave has worked on to sort of respond to the crisis that we all find ourselves in. So putting the business owners at the forefront, as well as the customers, as the consumers at the forefront. That's the reason why this solution has come up. So it's available. It's available, like I said. It's all about business continuity. So all you need to do is take advantage of this, sign up on Flutterwave, and you have access to this. So there's no additional integration or anything else required. So in addition to this, you also have access to the other tools that I talked about, which is free listing on Google My Business and free access to our webinars and so many other things that we're going to be coming up with during the course of the period. And then it's not just during this lockdown period, just like my colleague Wendy said earlier, it's actually something that's continuous. So this is just one of those solutions that we've put together for business owners. Once a transaction is successful, like I said, so everyone gets a notification. You, the person who has made the payment, you get a notification. The store owner gets a notification, and then the logistics company also gets a notification. So it just makes the whole process seamless, and then it's more or less like business is going on, but you know, without having to have any physical interaction. So it's a social distance compliant solution, so to speak. All right, next slide. Yes, so of course you need to know what's happening. Even though it's electronic, you still need to keep an eye out on what's happening. So this is a dashboard which the merchant sees. Remember I said he gets an email notification, but he also gets details of the transaction deposited on his dashboard. So he can go into the dashboard at any point in time and see details of whatever payment has gone through. So this is just a snapshot of what it looks like. You can download these reports, you know, he can export them, he can send via email. All those options are available for business owners. So you still are able to keep your business open even though physical locations are shut down. Next slide, please. So yeah, that's it basically. In summary, like I said, it's just a quick response because we realize the fact that a lot of people, especially those that don't have any online presence at all, have had to suffer like huge hits this period. You have to shut down your physical store and there are no sales happening, but you still have like commitments, you have obligations. So how do you proceed from there? So this is basically a response to that. And then the beauty is even after the shutdown, when the pandemic is under control, it's still a solution that is still very relevant, even whatever day or age it is, whether there's a crisis, whether there's no crisis, it's a very relevant solution to have. And like I said, all you need to do to take advantage of this is just sign up on Flutterwave. It's free. We're not charging you to sign up, and then you have access to all of these tools that are basically designed to ensure visibility as well as business continuity. So I guess that brings me to the end of my presentation. Yes, so that's the basic. I'm going to hand over now to Sam K. Sam K is going to talk to us a bit more about how you react in times of crisis, which is basically where we are at now. Yes, it is a crisis. So how do we react? Sam K, I'm excited to have you with us today. Are you
Thank
ready?
you so much for having me, Zainab, and hello to all the viewers and everyone joining us in this webinar. Once again, thank you so much for joining me, and good morning, everyone. I was asked to speak on basically how we can help entrepreneurs in this current pandemic we find ourselves in, and I'm sure a lot of us, it's the first time we're experiencing something like this in our lifetime. And I wanted to just quickly go through a history of various pandemics over time, because I feel that when we are faced with it in our lifetime, we feel that it's the first time ever that it's happening, or that we won't make it through. But we definitely shall. And I guess the question then is, what will we as entrepreneurs look like, and what will our businesses look like when we make it out the other side? Will we be leaders in the new world order, or will we be followers and therefore not taking full advantage of the time and the place we find ourselves in? Okay, so taking you through a quick agenda, I'm going to speak about the history of financial crises and plagues, just to put you at ease in terms of the fact that this has happened before, it's likely to happen again, so this is not the end of the world as many people feel. Then I'm going to talk you through what the companies that thrived look like, because every crisis presents an opportunity for a business and an entrepreneur to thrive. I'm going to then take you through the lessons from these crises, and then 3 tips for your business to position yourself to take advantage of this and any future crises you may find yourself in. Fantastic. So I'm going to start with the financial crises. In 1772, the first biggest recorded economic crisis was the credit crisis in the UK, where there was a run on the banks and basically the spread throughout Europe. And there was then that's where we get the term run on the banks from. It took years for banking services and financial services to recover, and that also birthed what you see now as the protection of depositors' funds, Basel, and the policies that we have in place still today. So from that crisis arose new ways of doing things, and I think it's quite important to realize that with each crisis, you'll see a new way of doing things when business eventually does recover. In 1929, I think this is the most famous of the financial crises that a lot of us know of, where on Black Thursday, the stock markets in the US crashed, leading to the Great Depression, loss of jobs, loss of income, rising unemployment, similar to the numbers that we see and coming out of the US and different parts of the world now. And again, it took years to recover, but recover the world did. 1973, the OPEC shock, when OPEC, which you know is the oil producing companies out of the Middle East, decided that actually we're going to control the supply of oil. And then you saw there being a shutdown of operations across the US especially. But again, that led to new discoveries, new ways of looking at how do we explore alternatives to fossil fuels. So with each crisis, again, reiterating that point, there came a new way, a new discovery of doing things, and opened up new industries after each crisis. 1997 was the Asia crisis emanating from Thailand. 2007, Great Recession, which is basically when we had the 2007-2008 financial crisis from that subprime lending in the US, which reverberated across the world. It took about 10 years for US stocks and markets to recover, so taking us to about 2017, 2018. And just as they recovered, we have COVID-19 bringing the whole world to a standstill. So 2019, 2020, could COVID-19 be the big financial crisis of our time? What lessons can we learn from the other crises that have gone? And how do we position ourselves to be a business that thrives? Looking at the health pandemics, again, one of the biggest reported ones was the Black Death of 1346, moving along to 1655 in London, 1720 Marseille, the Russian plague, Philadelphia yellow fever, the flu pandemic. So all through time, again, this is not to focus on the health pandemics. It's not a health seminar, but just to show you that all throughout time, there have been different pandemics in different regions and geographies of the world, from Europe to the US, to Africa, to the Middle East, to Asia. There have been different pandemics, and with much higher fatality rates rather, than what we've seen with COVID-19 so far. Again, I put this slide up and I make this point for us to ask ourselves, are we reacting this way because COVID-19 is the biggest pandemic we find ourselves in? Or is it just that there's higher global mobility, therefore the virus can spread wider? We are increasingly connected, meaning that there's more information flowing. So we're getting statistics from Italy, from Spain, from the UK, from the US, which makes it seem as if the world is ending, but it's not. We are nowhere near the number of deaths that the different pandemics had already been faced with at this time in their existence. So I lay this background just to say this is not the time to panic. It's never the time to panic. It's never as bad as it seems. Rather, it is a time for us to put our leadership hats on as entrepreneurs and say, okay, with all this news going on, I understand the impact on my business, but how do I shut out the noise and focus on how I can position myself and my business? Firstly, to meet my clients' needs, but also to come out the other side on the front foot. Okay, looking at the various pandemics and economic crises, these are the companies that thrived, and this is from various sources, and I've listed them in order of importance. 10th was candy, cosmetics, and contraceptives. I don't need to explain why in a lockdown or a crisis that last one would tend to thrive, right? 9th was luxury retail. We know that typically luxury retail is not susceptible to economic crises because, as we know, you've got mostly in most economies, the ultra rich and the very poor. And the ultra rich tend to be shielded from such economic crises because they're diversified, they're globally invested, and they hedged. And in fact, some of them are positioned to actually make money from these crises, so they don't tend to suffer that much. Repossessions and removals. This is quite a cruel one that I found, but obviously if, let's say, we take the subprime crisis, for instance, where a lot of houses were being repossessed, it follows that the repossessions and removals companies would boom as people then face financial collapse and financial closure and have to forfeit their assets. Number 7, public service or government. That public service or government will never stop as long as we're running in democracies. I don't see it stopping because those essential services will need to continue. 6, education. We see it now with COVID-19, where with the advent of technology, a lot of schooling has gone online. So education has not stopped, but simply shifted platforms. Number 5, vices. So your sin purchases like tobacco and alcohol. It follows that when there are stressful periods, people tend to go to their vices for comfort. Number 4 is discount retail. As people face financial pressures, they tend to buy down. So they don't cancel the purchases of those products that they need, like food, toiletries, clothing, but they then buy down and go to your discount stores. 3, especially in this time, information technology. One of the biggest winners of the COVID-19 lockdown so far has been the online company we're on right now, Zoom, that has seen a exponential growth in the people signing up for Zoom, using Zoom, and taking out their packages. Most workplaces are now conducting their meetings on Zoom. So information technology has seen a spike, especially in this time. Number 2, of course, and very relevant to the time we find ourselves in, is healthcare. Especially if you look at PPE, which is protective equipment. The sale of masks and ventilators has skyrocketed, is shot up the roof. We've seen large donations from your Jack Ma's, your Bill Gates, but anyone in healthcare is seeing a huge rise in demand. Of course, that is not really something that you want to put as a capitalist strategy, but it's a functionality of the fact that when the going gets tough, we do as human beings look to protecting our livelihood first. And then first and most stable across all the crises have been non-cyclical businesses. So your grocers, accounting, legal, tax, utilities. Those are essential to not only our survival as human beings, but a business's survival in terms of compliance. Now, the current situation we find ourselves in is actually very different, because we've had a number of businesses have to actually shut down, and a number of governments actually put out window periods where they will allow for companies not to comply, simply because we find ourselves in really very uncharted territory, unfamiliar territory, and territory where it's actually a health hazard for people to congregate. So I know, for instance, in South Africa, I don't know if it's the same in your region, we are on day 9, I think it is, of the lockdown. I've lost count. And basically, even with our taxes, we are being given certain windows for our taxes. We've been giving debt moratoriums where homeowners don't have to pay their mortgages for a period of 3 months, credit cards, personal loans, etc. So this pandemic has proven that even those services we previously thought are non-cyclical can actually become cyclical, because you do not need your accountant if government has said we will give you an extension on submitting your financials. Legal services have been shut. Government has said legal practices are a non-essential service. Courts have remained open, but lawyers' offices have remained shut. So looking at how this list, which was prepared about a year or two ago, does not apply to the pandemic we currently find ourselves in. I did a little bit of a reflection, and again looked through history to see how then did those businesses that did thrive during the pandemics do so, and what lessons can we take out to position ourselves in this pandemic and any other subsequent pandemics we may find ourselves in. Okay, so looking at the lessons, first of all, I looked at, I took it back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow's hierarchy, as you know, says that first and foremost at the base, physiological needs. We need air, food, water, shelter, and that last one, sex. And then secondly, safety needs, security, finances, freedom from fear. And you move up the hierarchy, social belonging, family, friendship, intimacy, esteem needs, self-confidence, respect from others, cognitive needs, pursuit of knowledge and understanding, aesthetic needs, pursuit of beauty and creativity, self-actualization, achieving individual potential, and self-transcendence, helping others and or having a spiritual experience. Now, when you look back to that slide we spoke about, you realize that actually those companies that did thrive throughout the crises met one of these needs, whether they were physiological, safety, social and belonging, esteem, cognitive, aesthetic, self-actualization, and self-transcendence. And so it was those companies that met their clients at their client's point of need, according to the Maslow's hierarchy, during the time of crisis, that they did thrive. So for instance, let's look at luxury markets that were perhaps meeting their clients' aesthetic needs would thrive in a crisis. And that makes sense. Why? It would make sense because anyone in the luxury market space, you would assume that even through a financial crisis, they're not really worried about their physiological needs, i.e. losing their home, a threat to their healthcare, because they have medical aid, they have access to the best doctors, they probably have their house paid up, or they have enough income coming in to support them not defaulting on their mortgage. Safety needs, they live in secure estates, they don't have the fear of losing their or not having their basic needs met. Social belonging, etc., etc. So at the point where their client was, that organization met that need. And it was the meeting of the need versus the service that ensured that they thrived. Where companies did not thrive, it's those companies where the product or service they were providing did not meet the need where their client was. Why? More often than not, because a business's products and services are static in the short term. It was their clients' needs that had moved down Maslow's hierarchy of needs that now created the gap between what the business was providing and what the client needed. Let's use an example. Let's use social media influencers, for instance, okay? Aesthetic needs, beauty, creativity, we are making videos, we are fashion bloggers. as an example, you'll find that perhaps they are now sitting here trying to secure their finances or even sitting at physiological needs. So getting makeup or the latest wig to review is no longer a primary concern. Now they're primarily concerned with, where am I going to stay? Because maybe I'm a student and I stay far away from home, I need to get home. Do we have Wi-Fi? Is my family okay? Do we have enough food? Can I use the money that I've saved to make sure that my family is okay? They've moved down in terms of their needs, down their Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let's use a bigger example. I don't want to use a grocer because that's an essential need, that's an easy example. You're selling clothes. So you have a store boutique and you're selling clothes. Right now, the need for clothes is not for aesthetics. Right now, the need for clothes is physiological, to be decent. And if you've got that sitting on your cupboard, you can then expect that clothing retailers won't see as many sales in this period as they did before. Let's take another example, a bigger one. Car dealership, or let's use Uber, for example. Uber, whereas before it was, I guess, safety needs, we can put it that. You're using Uber because you are securing your finances, you have a job to go to, and you need to be mobile to get that job. Uber right now across the world is in trouble. Why? People are working from home. Their need has moved from, well, their need is still in securing finances, but because the physiological need is higher than that of securing finances, they need to secure their finances whilst meeting their physiological needs of health, not being infected by the virus. So with the rise of Zoom online meetings, governments saying people must stay at home across the world, Uber's in trouble because people are now saying, I can work from home and still earn a living without putting my physiological need at risk. Therefore, this need for transportation will take a back seat. And that's why you've seen Uber and Uber Eats shut down. I like the example of how Flutterwave has pivoted their offering, because Flutterwave has probably seen that, hey, our businesses and our entrepreneurs are not transacting. If they're not transacting, we're not making fees from the payments going through. So how do we pivot and move along with our clients and our needs, and their needs rather, to still meet them at the point of need? People are staying at home. Okay, dear entrepreneur that is a Flutterwave client or business subscriber, we are going to help you continue to be in business, even with your client at home, by now partnering or integrating with a logistics company solution to help meet the clients at their point of need. I hope this is landing, because if you can understand this, it'll help you understand where, number one, if your business and your offering is still relevant for your client's point of need, and also how then, if it's shifted, you need to shift, either by pivoting your operations or partnering with other businesses. Okay, let's move on. Not just in this crisis, but also going forward, we as small business owners, and especially our African entrepreneurs, need to realize that our business will always be at risk of failure if it does not meet our clients' primary needs. Too many of us are in business for the sake of survival, so we do what's done. If our neighbor is selling yams, there we go, selling yams. If we see that our friends are buying Uber vehicles, there we go, buying Uber vehicles. Forgetting the principles of starting a business, doing a due diligence, doing a market assessment. What is it that I'm good at? What is it that the world needs? And what is it, where can we meet each other at the point where I can monetize, making my own profit as a business person, but also meeting society's needs? We don't do that, which is why you see a lot of African startups not growing big enough to list or go global, because we forget the fundamentals. And this crisis reminds us that the fundamentals apply. I can use my own example. My day job is running workshops for corporates in financial wellness. I help their staff to have better financial outcomes, to manage their finances properly, and therefore not affect the company's profits because they're facing financial distress, right? With the lockdown, it means that I cannot host workshops whatsoever. That's it. My business is dead. However, I've pivoted and gone on to digital. I've been running Zoom soirees once a week. Those have been going well, but I've realized My companies still need their employees and especially their consumers in this time to better manage their finances. So I've pivoted to media, where I now run a daily Instagram live broadcast that instead of making this information available in a workshop format, it's now bringing the latest information daily at 6 p.m. in the form of a news broadcast. So I've pivoted, even though the problem or the need being met is still the same. And that is just a small example you can integrate into your own business as well. Let's move on. So if we were to summarize what we've discussed in this conversation, what does that look like? Number one, there is no ways you can strategize or set up your business to meet your client's primary need if you don't even know what your client's needs are. If I were to ask you to list your top 5 clients and tell me what their primary needs are, I think on an operational survival going concern basis, I think many of us would struggle to do that, simply because perhaps there was an opportunity to say, can you supply tires? Yes, I can. Even though you've never been in the tire business in your life, you quickly picked up the phone, you knew someone selling tires, and boom, there you are, you're in the tire business. That is not a sustainable way of running a business. And even if you took that opportunity, fair and fine, can you tell me more than tires? What is your client's primary business now? If let's say you were selling to, I don't know, a dealership, mining company, whatever. What is their primary business? Because unless you can position yourself there, unless you can position yourself as critical to your client continuing to operate, in times of crises, you'll always be the first to go. Or in times of financial downturn, you'll always be the first to go. The reason why I've still got my clients calling on me is not because I'm critical to their business operating. No, their staff is. But I'm critical to their staff operating functionally. So I'm an ingredient or a catalyst in a key component in their business operating efficiently. That's why I've still got emails and phone calls streaming in, even though I haven't left my house in 3 weeks. Number one, identify your client's primary needs, then pivot to meet. Number two, which is the following point, pivot to those clients whose primary needs you fulfill. Flutterwave has given an example of how they've done that. I've given you an example of how I've done that. How will you do that now that you can no longer operate from your premises or leave your house? How can you pivot to meet your clients' primary needs at this stage? Okay, does it mean partnering up with other businesses? Does it mean changing the products and services you offer? Does it mean changing the packaging or the way it is delivered or consumed? And then finally, number three, if you can't pivot what you currently have, which is basically just swinging what you currently have, then you may need to diversify, which is actually now shifting from where you are. Diversify into activities that meet a primary need, okay? Again, using the example, you're the first people to hear this, but I've had a TV station call me to say, Samke, we've been watching you on Instagram. We actually like what you're doing. Can you consider proposing a full-on TV show? So from workshops to offering the workshops on Instagram, which was the pivoting of just change location, to diversifying. I've gone from workshops to TV. Why is that important? It still meets the need. Giving financial information to the broader consumer and to our staff. So these are some of the strategies you can apply, but those strategies mean nothing if you don't know what your client's primary need is and why, therefore, it is that you should continue to exist as an entrepreneur. Okay. I'll open up for some questions now. If there are any questions, Zainab, maybe you can unmute just so you can also help me moderate which questions you'd like me to address, if there are any.
Okay,
Right.
hi, this is Wendy. So first question, I think, Samke, this would be directly for you. Samke, are you able to give us an example when your business is offering a service as opposed to a product? For example, you are an events company. So they're asking basically, how can you pivot, or where should your head be at if you're an events company as opposed to a product-based company?
Fantastic. So I would go back to what is your client's primary need, okay? I'll use an example. So if you are an eventing company, I operate like an eventing company in a way, because when I put together the workshops for my clients, who are the corporates, primarily the banks, they either run it or I run it for them in terms of venue, catering, photographer, cameraman, etc., all the logistics associated with it. Now, for my clients, their primary need is not the event. Their primary need is staff education. So in fact, I've got one of the big banks now where we've received a brief to say, can we run all their staff education on Zoom? One on Zoom, complemented by podcasts, a weekly podcast series, complemented by a weekly digital article, complemented by videos, informational videos. So the primary need for my client wasn't hosting the event. The primary need was educating their staff. So I was able to pivot and still help them address their need, even though we're not physically gathering in a room. Now, the challenge for you would be to say, who are your clients? Perhaps you are in wedding and eventing. Okay, what is your client's primary need? The primary need from you is not to get married. The minister does that. The primary need is for you to facilitate a celebration. So then you will think to yourself, how do I facilitate a celebration for my client? Because there are still people who are going to go ahead and sign, or maybe they've even signed already, or maybe they'll even cut down the number of guests in attendance. I don't know how your lockdown is working, whether you allowed 50 guests, 10 guests, whatever the case is. So how do I stage a celebration? Or let's use another example. If your bride and groom have had to postpone their wedding for another 3 months, 6 months, indefinitely, but the primary need is celebration, you can actually facilitate a monthly build-up, or host a monthly build-up on Zoom, or offer to host a website for them where you update the bride and groom's journey, but where you put together a solution. Obviously, monetizing it you'll have to be smart about how you do that, but putting together a solution that helps them celebrate their union. Because coming together and eating is not the need. Celebration is the need. So how do you then package the celebration element differently, given the constraints you find yourself in? Let's use another example. Business conferences and seminars, those have already moved onto Zoom. I have a friend of mine who is an Pan-African MC and conference moderator, Gugu Mfupi. She's on CNBC. She's been moderating and facilitating conferences where she's the only one in the room. It's her, empty seats, digital team, and everyone is logging in from where they are. Can you then be at the forefront of running digital webinars, complete with all the background screens, the presentations, the tech? Because again, coming together was not the primary concern. Having business people conduct a dialogue around a certain topic was the primary need you were filling. So how else do you package the fulfillment and meeting of that need? I hope the examples I've given you, which range from small to very large businesses, have helped for you, especially to start clarifying and distinguishing what the primary need is versus what the primary activity is. Because too often as business people, we get attached to the activity and forget to look beyond the activity to the need. What need am I fulfilling? I'll take another question.
All right, thank you very much, Samke. So next question, I'm gonna go into the Q&A session, to the Q&A section, sorry. And this question, basically, I think this would be more for Zainab. Hi, Zainab. So this person's name is Teddy, and he or she is basically asking, I'm a potential user registered on Flutterwave. It was my first time hearing about Flutterwave. Love the concept. How easy is it for developers to use platform integration and testing? And then number 2 would be, notice a few complaints online that have not been regarding payments. So basically they want us to address those complaints. as Flutterwave. So I'm just going to hand over to Zainab and she can answer.
Okay, so in terms of how easy it is to integrate, it's completely seamless. I mean, people have completed the integration in few hours, right? So I'd say for the integration part, it's pretty seamless, it's pretty straightforward. And then if you're having any challenges whatsoever with integration, just shoot us an email and we'll resolve immediately. Our engineers are online most of the time, so you definitely get a response, and support will be provided. But in terms of how easy it is, I'd say it's very easy, pretty seamless. Also, so in terms of complaints, I'm not sure what the specific complaints are, but if there are any complaints at all, just channel it to the right channel, so to speak, and you definitely get a response. So I think I should just mention the right channel, which is hi@flutterwavego.com. That's hi@flutterwavego.com. Once you send us an email, you definitely get a response. So just let us know what the challenges are, what the complaints are, and we'll try to resolve it as soon as we can. I hope I've answered your question.
Okay, so next question would be for Samke. Sorry, just pulling it up. In the case of a startup that is still making inroads, how can one keep potential clients confident whilst waiting for this pandemic period to pass?
Content is key. I always advise small business owners, entrepreneurs, consultants, etc., to set themselves up as the voice of authority in their industry. So even sending out a weekly newsletter of how the pandemic is affecting your business, or how you think that it can affect your clients' businesses, or research from around the world, something interesting would really help to keep you top of mind for when eventually we do come out of this the other side and operations return to normal, whatever that normal may be. I've chosen my platform, my social media platforms being Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter as my platforms that I use to stay top of mind in my clients' minds. But I'm actually, with the daily interviews that I'm hosting, I'm engaging the banks. So last week, I engaged 2 of our top 5 banks. This week, I'm touching the other 3, where I give them an opportunity to come speak to us on what's topical, and I interview them that way. Number 1, I stay top of mind in my client's mind, but also number 2, I'm still staying top of mind in my new clients. So my clients used to be the corporates, and the consumers of my content was the staff in the corporates. But because the corporates are shut down, I've pivoted to individuals who can also now come to me for one-on-one consultations, given that they're not getting those workshops from their corporates. So I've managed to marry staying top of mind with my clients with also fulfilling the need for my additional clients being the individuals. I would say choose a platform, whether that is social media, whether that is a newsletter, whether that is a podcast, to put out information that is relevant to your target market around how they can navigate and continue to survive, because I don't think anyone is looking to thrive right now, but survive in this time, and thereby you'll stay top of mind. But just be very careful that it doesn't look opportunistic. Be very careful that what you're putting out is well researched, is new information, is relevant to the reader. Otherwise, you may actually destroy your brand as opposed to affirm it. So just put some thought into the channel you choose to use. Make sure it's quality. Make sure you know what the other content going around in your chosen platform looks like, so that you know where to set the bar. And I would say just a weekly touch base is good enough. But don't be irritating. I've unsubscribed from a lot of newsletters because they're actually saying nothing. Don't tell anyone to wash their hands for 20 seconds. We know, we're over that.
Thank you, Samke. So another thing I should mention is that we're definitely going to host the webinar on like the appropriate marketing practices for you as a business, so that you avoid looking opportunistic while still, positioning your business to thrive and obviously make some, continue to make revenue during this period. Okay, Zainab, this question is for you. We have a few people that are asking that you throw more light on listing and verifying small medium businesses on Google My Business. What I guess they want to know, what does that entail? How do they sign up for it? How do they get listed? And what is required of them?
Okay, so if you are an existing Flutterwave merchant, by now you've gotten an email saying, all the things that you need to do. However, if you're not a Flutterwave merchant, then you can quickly sign up, and then we'll just send you the communication. It's just basically we're getting some information from you, your name, your location, type of business, all that detail. We need to get that from you, and then the profiling will be done by the Google team, and then we'll give you access to be able to make whatever changes that you want. So it's actually pretty straightforward. If I don't know if these are existing SMEs or they're new customers, but if you're existing, you would have gotten an email saying all the things you need to do. But if you're new, you can still, after this webinar, just send us an email, and then we'll just take it from there. I don't know, Wendy, is there a way we can get that particular response sent to them?
So I think what we're going to do is, as usual, we are going to send the webinar link. We're going to upload it on YouTube, and we're going to send it to everyone that has attended and registered for the webinar. And in that email, we will give you directions on how to get started on the Google My Business listing as well. Next question. This is for you, Samke. Coming from a different angle here, more along the lines of investing and buying into stock or shares. It's kind of different from what we've been talking about. Would you say now would be the best time to buy into the stock market, or am I misinformed in thinking that many people will be looking to sell at this time?
You're not misinformed. The stock markets all over the world have definitely fallen off, but I would be wary of going big on any particular stock right now, simply because there's so much uncertainty around what the new normal will look like. Every pandemic has been devastating at every time in which it did arise. But I think with this one, we sort of recognize that things won't go back to the normal we are used to or we are from. So if you've seen Uber stocks, for instance, selling at a discount, I wouldn't say go rushing into Uber, because we don't know if there'll be a demand as high as before for Uber going forward, simply because the way in which we work has shifted. We don't know if you should go into private education stocks, simply because maybe people decide actually homeschooling is a thing and I'm going to tutor my children privately. Typically, investment theory says that when shares are trading at a discount or below the value they've been trading at for a while, as long as you're investing in a company that is solid, you look at the fundamentals of the company. So your utilities, fuel, transportation, food, farming, education, you're good. However, with where we're sitting now, whole businesses have shut. JetBlue, I think, has gone bust. Is it JetBlue? Or one of the airlines in the UK, please don't misquote me. One of the airlines has completely gone bust. We don't know what COVID-19 means for the airline industry. So don't go rushing to buy Virgin. Whereas before you may have said, stock is solid, there's something I can look at. Your thinking is correct, but I think I would err on the side of caution and say that now is definitely not the time to sell, because you'll be realizing your loss. And in terms of buying, I would say just look at the fundamentals of the company you look at buying into, look at their balance sheet, look at the media statements they've released around their earnings, around what could impact their earnings, around their recovery plans. And I would say trickle in. Any investment decision you make now will be a gamble. Rather place a little bit here, a little bit there, and see if it performs, and only invest that money that you're looking at, that you're willing to lose. I think universally, investors agree that cash is king right now. If you're sitting on cash, just wait it out a little bit, because we don't know how long this lockdown will be for. We don't know when a vaccine or even a cure for COVID will be released. So if you're sitting on cash, I'd rather say stay there for now until we have a clearer picture of what the new normal will look like and which businesses will do well. And then you can start going in ahead of other investors, which will then drive the share price up.
Awesome, thank you very much. So I'm going to take 2 questions from our attendees, verbal questions. First person is Nitesh. Hi Nitesh, are you there?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, hi. So you wanted to ask a question?
No, as no, our company is already a client of Flutterwave, so I have the information about this already. So we are already using it.
Oh, that's awesome. So what's your experience been like?
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Yeah,
Thank you
the
very
service
much
is
for
good.
the vote of confidence. I think that's really great to hear that you're already using it and you're already enjoying it. Thank you very much, Nitesh.
Yeah,
So
thank
the
you.
next person would be James. Hi, James, you have your hand up. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, so this is a very general question. We've seen a lot of disruptions, a lot of industries collapsing here and there. Now, if you could give us an idea of where the market is going, what new industries should we be looking at if we are looking to diversify? Is it that now we have to probably put everything on an app, or do we have to, there's this whole hula baloo of now everything is digital, and then there's a conversation on 5G and the implications and the possibilities and all of that. So what new industries are we looking to spring after the coronavirus, and what new opportunities should we be looking at, and what old ways would be no more if after the whole virus is over? I don't know if you get my point. So I'm looking for like the new threshold.
Right.
If yes, new opportunities
That you should be
and
looking
stuff
at.
like that.
Okay. Right. Thank you, James. So Samke or Zainab, would anyone of you like to answer the question?
Okay, so for me, I'd say this question is a question literally everybody's asking now. I was asking the same question myself, and I did a bit of research, and I found out that some of these industries, so e-commerce for one is a key one. Everyone now is beginning to realize the importance of e-commerce. Drone delivery is something I think it might take a bit of time to get to where we are, but a lot of people are beginning to look into drone delivery as well. Contactless payments, right? Not having to have that, physical interaction. So people want contactless payments. Even now, if you want to make a payment now, they're telling you they don't want cash because apparently the virus can stay on cash a bit longer than, other surfaces. But even if you're paying with your card, they're still having to give your card to someone else, and then you take the card back, So contactless payments, I believe, is something that we, definitely need to look into. Yeah, so online learning and teaching as well, just like Samke has mentioned, that could just be the new normal, really. Even as we speak, there's still a lot of online learning going on because you really can't keep kids at home just indefinitely. They still have to learn. So a lot of schools, have pivoted to, from physical classrooms to digital, and that has sort of taken across most of the schools, especially where we are now. So I think online learning, e-learning is going to be another big one. After the whole COVID-19. I don't know if Sam K has some other stuff to add.
Thanks, Zainab. James, I think your question is rather unfair because anyone that right now that says they know where the world is going, I think is lying. And secondly, I would be very cautious to use those companies that are thriving in a crisis as a bellwether of the new normal. I'll tell you why. You look at Groupon, for instance. Groupon boomed during the 2007-2008 economic crisis. 10 years later, it was bust. So as much as it met the need of people at the time of the crisis, people reverted and wanted to go back to the normal they were used to before the crisis. That may very well happen here as well, where everyone now is a hygiene freak. We want contactless. We don't want to touch other human beings. We don't want to travel, want to do everything online. But if you revert to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're social beings. We want to feel that sense of belonging. We want human interaction. We want validation. At the heart of it, we are no different to animals. You know, we want to be in a community, and we want that sense of being loved and engaging. So you may very well find that kids say, actually, no, we've done this online learning thing, and we want to go back and play with our friends. People may say working from home is all good and well at a time, but not as the new way of doing things. So you may very well find that we revert to the old way of doing things. We travel again, we congregate again. So I would say, I don't think anyone can with certainty say which industries are going to thrive, number one. And number two, even if they do say with certainty which industries are going to thrive, will those industries still be thriving in 5 years' time? We live in a very fast changing world where new industries are being born every day, old industries are dying every day. And I think if you go back to the principle of looking at the primary need, what am I trying to fulfill? Then you won't be attached to industries as much as you'll be attached to solutions and the different way in which those solutions can be provided.
Awesome. Thank you. James, does that kind of answer your question or put you in the right headspace for how to kind of think about it?
Well, you know, the most needs they are positioned in certain niches, right? And those niches belong to a broader industry. So my question is sort of, for example, we know IT is going to, is going to be here to stay, but which aspects are going to be gone, so that we know that, okay, in the new world, yes, people still want to hang out, people still want to have fun, people still want to go to bars, socialize, go to a big wedding, all of that stuff. But which stuff do we know for sure that, this stuff is definitely going to go away, and, life is definitely not going to be the same after Corona? Because we know definitely that life is not going to be the same. The economic impact is going to change. The economic climate is going to change. They are saying there's going to be a recession, which I strongly believe, and the recovery will be 3 to 5 years. So what exactly should we be positioning ourselves with, short term as business owners, and where should we be looking long term? If I don't know if that's kind of, puts my question into perspective.
I'll pick up. I will say I don't know, and I don't believe anyone that says they do know. That's the whole point of uncertainty. We're living in globally uncertain times where no one knows what 6 months from now even the world will look like. No one knows what facets of online will thrive and will not. So from my side, I would say that trying to plan long-term in this current time is a futile exercise. You can but try to plan to understand what it is that you continue to do for your client in different or changing circumstances. But trying to pin yourself to one platform or to one solution, for me, is a very dangerous exercise, especially in this time of high uncertainty. Zainab?
Yes. I think I agree with you in terms of you can't say for certain that this is what is going to be really. So just start with the short term. Just like Samke said, what particular need are you meeting? Maybe if you start from that premise, then it would be like an easier path to navigate. So yeah, nobody really can tell for certain, like 100% sure that this is how it's going to look like.
Yeah, I think unfortunately there's, because we can't predict the future, we are completely unable to be like, this is where we're gonna go, and so that's why we cannot give a definite answer. But I think, James, does that kind of give you something?
Yes, yes, but the question of 5G has not been answered.
Of what?
The question of 5G has not been answered.
5G.
Yes. There's this whole talk about 5G. Is that something you guys could talk about, like probably elaborate? I don't know if I'm in the wrong space.
I think with the 5G information that has been going around, it is very important to only listen to verified sources of information, and it would be best to kind of only focus on, there's a few articles that are out there that have kind of obviously elaborated on the fact that it's not based in fact, it's a lot of speculation, and so it's best to actually focus on verified sources of information. I think the focus of many people right now is on like flattening the curve for COVID-19, so we can kind of get back to some semblance of normalcy. But I don't know if Zainab and Samke want to say something about that a little bit.
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, so I mean, you can check, I think maybe check the New York Times, which are like a reputable platform. And they have an article about this, and it kind of goes into a little bit more detail on how it's not based in fact. It's really important for us to share information that is only based in fact around this time. Okay, so I think we have kind of run over our time. I am going to do one more question, and for everyone that we have not been able to answer your questions, unfortunately, we're really sorry about that, but we will be sending out an email, and if you have more questions, please feel free to email us, hi@flutterwave.com. Samke, you also have your email address, right? Somewhere. Yes, there is. bookings@tncwealth.com. So you can send an email if you have more questions. But the last question that I'm going to go into is, Emmanuel says, hi all. I want to first appreciate all speakers for their best presentations. I am into building robust e-ticketing systems for buses, trains, and ferries. At this time, all our clients in Uganda are under lockdown. All buses, trains, and ferries have been put on a halt. How do I remain relevant to my clients without being opportunistic? How do I remain relevant to my commuters who are not traveling now? Samke, this question is for you.
Perfect. I think, again, it goes back to the principle, what need are you fulfilling? So with the e-ticketing system, you're making transportation easier. That's the activity, the transportation. But the need is the ability to transact or the ability to generate an income. So I would position myself as the thought leader on how transportation is changing, where transportation is moving to. Will we need transportation in the future, or can we generate an income from the comfort of our homes? If so, do you then become that platform that helps people to generate that income without leaving their home? Do you write a review on how you attended this Flutterwave webinar and learned about logistics and online purchasing? Do you become a logistics partner, perhaps, to your customers, as opposed to now just ticketing? So it goes back to the principles of identifying the need, seeing whether you need to pivot or whether you need to diversify. But I don't know enough about your industry to give you an answer that says you must now go to the bus operators and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, you are the expert in your field. You need to identify the need. You know your competencies as an entrepreneur, and that'll tell you whether you pivot or whether you diversify, partner with other people, but basically the actions you need to take to meet the need, which, looking at transportation, I would say is easily around helping making transportation more efficient, but transportation leads back to what? The ability to generate an income. So actually that's where your need is sitting.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Samke. Thank you, everyone, for asking questions and for being a part of this webinar. We will be, like I said before, we will be sending the recording to you guys by tomorrow. And then we also will be sending a feedback form. The feedback form is obviously so that we can make this better for you. This is a weekly webinar that we're doing, and we want to kind of improve the kind of topics that we're covering and the way we structure the webinar. The feedback is very, very important to us. It helps us become better. So if you were on last week's webinar and you are on this one, thank you for coming back. Unfortunately, we've kind of run over our time now, but we really appreciate you for joining us. Thank you very much. Have a great day. If you have questions for Samke, send an email to bookings@tncwealth.com. If you have a question for Flutterwave, send an email to hi@flutterwavego.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day.